Welcome to the Adventures from the Bedrooms of African Women podcast, where we explore all things sex, sexuality, and pleasure.
And today we're talking about sex-positive parenting.
Yes.
I am so interested in that. I'm a mama of a 3-year-old. Mm-hmm. You're a mama of how many?
Of a lot of children, ranging from 18 to 12.
And I feel like even you feel like there's something you can learn from this conversation, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I was super excited for us to talk to Setting Jasmine about sex-positive parenting. I feel like so many people will know her for her work as an adult entertainer, and she does so much more. One of the things I really love about Setting Jasmine is that she promotes sex-positive parenting.
Yes, she does.
She has an Instagram account that I follow around that, and yeah, I'm just so delighted we got to chat to her.
My performer name is Setting Jasmine. I am Jasmine Johnson. I am a licensed clinical psychotherapist, and I am also a full-service, forward-facing sex worker. I am the co-owner with my partner, King Noir, of Royal Fetish Films, where we produce full-length erotica, BDSM, romance, and kinky porn. I am a master fetish trainer, and I am a mother of 4 children, ranging age 22 to 9 months old. And then I'm all the things that, every woman is, everything to everybody.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine. And I feel like there's so much we could interview you about. But for this episode, we wanted to focus on sex-positive parenting. Mm-hmm. And this is a phrase I've heard you use in your work. So how would you explain what sex-positive parenting is?
Oftentimes when people hear the word sex-positive parenting, they think that we are just allowing our children to run amok, just to be, having sex and hearing and seeing and engaging in content that we would otherwise say is inappropriate for children. And that is the furthest thing from being sex-positive. Sex-positive does mean protecting our children from some of the really scary things that are sadly associated with children and sex, such as pedophilia and sexually inappropriate behavior. Sex-positive parenting, for me specifically, means centering pleasure, where we support our children in identifying that their body is their body. So that body autonomy, as well as their body deserves pleasure in all the many ways that they're able to identify that this is not a punitive act, that this is not a unnatural act, or that this is something where shame or stigma lives, that this is actually where pleasure lives, that you get to decide when, where, who, and how you want to engage with sex. So that's what it means to me.
Oh my goodness. I love this definition so much. I really, really love it. I feel like we need this written down as an essay that everybody can read, right?
Come on, Nana, you're the writer. Come on.
True. And I am starting work on my second book, so I might be hollering at you again. And you're obviously a licensed psychotherapist, so you have, skills around this, learned skills around this. I'm wondering what tips you might have for parents who literally have no idea what to do. I was recently in Sierra Leone running a workshop on sexualities for young girls. And one of the things I was asking people right at the start of the session was, what questions do you have? What would you like to get out of this? And I was surprised that quite a few young girls said to me, how can we get our parents to talk to us about sex? Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of parents feel a lot of fear about speaking to their children around sex. So if there's a parent who feels like, okay, I want to do something different to what I experienced growing up, right? Nobody ever spoke to me about sex. My mom never spoke to me about sex. My dad, no adult spoke to me about sex. Mm-hmm. What tips would you give them if they just want to know how to start?
I think, when hearing us speak, it's sort of wow, that seems like such a big task to be this sex positive parent. And really, if you could just, wherever you are, the fact that you are still listening to this podcast right now after you heard what the title is, you're already on that journey, right? So we're already challenging some of our preconceived ideas or our history with parenting and or young adults and discussing sex. I think some of the fear is that you have to have all the answers and that you have to be able to deliver these answers all in one talk at one time. And so let's bust that myth right there. We want to be able to have a continuous conversation with our children over our lifetime about sex, sexuality, and intimacy. And I keep saying sex, sexuality, intimacy, and interpersonal relationships because part of the fear also is that it's just sex. I have to talk to them about this graphic thing. And it's like, no, actually think about some of our sexual experiences as adults. That tingly, exciting feeling that we get starts like long before we are face to face with that person sexually. So we can start to talk to our children about like, is there anyone at school that you like? This may be a completely platonic friendship, but you're easing into, I am a safe space for my child to talk to me about interacting with another person that makes them feel. That's it.
Some of the questions we've had in the past are like, how young can you talk to kids about sex? Like, when do you start talking to kids about sex? I mean, I have a 3-year-old, and one of the things I've been really consciously doing is just making her feel comfortable with her body and my body. Like, you know, she's like, she knows the proper names for everything. She's like, nipples. She's so obsessed with my nipples. It's such a pain. I'm always trying to be like, don't squeeze them, don't squeeze them. She'd be like, Mom, I'm just touching your breast. See, I'm not squeezing it. You know, she knows the name for her vulva. The other day she was sitting on the bed and I was like, Asanta, what are you doing? And she said, I'm touching my vulva. And I said, why? And she just kind of laughed, you know. So I feel like you talk to kids as young, you know, whenever they start to seem interested. But what would you say? You're also a professional when it comes to this.
I completely agree with you. Your approach is perfect. One is like equipping our children with the correct words. I mean, we're doing it with everything else, right? We're like refrigerator, car, blue. Why not their body as well?
Sure.
You know, so again, take that weight off of fear out of sex and our body autonomy and treat it just like the education around anything else. I say we can even start with infants. So I like to give the example of teaching consent. We can teach consent so early. So I say, like, imagine picking a booger out of a 5-month-old nose. And, you know, they're like squirming and moving all around. They're telling you, I don't want you in my nose. So starting to put that framework in your head, like, okay, in this situation, this child is sharing with me consent or non-consent. So that way, as they get older, these are the things that happen. Someone touches you, they say, I don't want you to touch me. They should be validated in that moment. You know, so as early as possible, we can start to introduce concepts around body autonomy, pleasure, like you, why are you touching your vulva? And she laughed, opposed to, don't do that. You shouldn't be doing that. Her laugh was like, because I want to.
Exactly.
I like it. It feels good.
When she laughed, cool. I laughed too, because it was even funny. Because I was like, okay, so when do I start saying, you know, okay, you do this when you're on your own? And I'm like, no, she's 3. I can't say this now.
Right. Because you're sexualizing it when we don't need to.
And what do we say to some of our listeners who themselves don't even have like the language to talk about their own body parts, right? Because they grew up being told it's a hoo-ha or whatever. Like, what do we say to them?
Right. So really ask yourself, as a child, you know, why did you use the words that you use? Oh, well, because that's all that was taught to me. Okay. That's okay. That's not your fault. And so you probably feel uncomfortable using those words now because you didn't have any practice with them, right? Right. Okay. So now let's teach that child. We have between now and to the day that we die to practice using those words freely and without shame. If it makes you giggle a little, that's okay. Say it in the mirror a couple times. listen to other adults have conversations about sex and how they use those words so freely and nothing bad happens. So correcting, it's never too late to do course correction, right? Even for yourself, right?
I love it.
So I hope that helped some of your listeners.
Oh my gosh, I think it will. Thank you so much, Jasmine. And, I'm thinking back to something you said earlier, right at the beginning. And I feel like anybody who looks at you will be like, oh my God, how do you have a 22-year-old and a 9-month-old? You look like you're not much older than 22 yourself.
Oh, thank you. Some good makeup I got here.
It is not makeup. I don't think so. I think it's just this natural flyness. But I'm assuming you were a young mother to your first child. And so how do you feel like your parenting has changed? Especially in terms of how you're able to approach conversations around sex, sexuality, intimacy, and interrelationships is how I think you phrased it. So interpersonal relationships.
Thank you. So yes, I was, I was pregnant with my oldest child at 19. And I was still struggling with a lot of the shame and the stigma that is associated with sex, having sex, the outcomes of sex, all of those things. So I can make that clear connection with where my shame, my openness, my knowledge base, my approach to sex, sexuality, intimacy, and interpersonal relationships has had a direct impact on how my children show up free in this world. And I feel very responsible for it. It's like, okay, I think I may have messed up a little bit. Let me see, can I get in there now? And so now they go on and they talk about the mistakes that I've made, how I've corrected them, how that has supported them, and also ways of how that has shaped them.
That's really beautiful and really inspiring. And I think really encouraging for folks who are like, oh no, I messed this up. How can I course correct? It's never too late. It really is never too late.
No, absolutely not. Because when we do that, we're actually modeling, even in our mistakes, we're modeling for our children to be able to course correct for themselves.
So that's one question that we're asking everybody on this season. What's a sexy secret that you can share with us?
Okay. There aren't a whole lot of secrets that I have anymore.
I feel like that's what I would say as well as a blogger. Somebody who blogs about sex, they're like, it's all out there.
It's all out there. And especially if it was good, it definitely is out there. But I'll share this. So something that has been really, really helpful in my current partnership that we've been together for 12 years now. And we are a polyamorous. We are an open couple. We are both sex workers. And so this is the way that I like to share with other women, especially that may be considering, how does having any sort of openness in their relationship benefit them, especially when societally we've been so geared towards monogamy and so much of our worth being attached to our partner's loyalty to us. I believe in outsourcing the things you do not want to do. I believe in outsourcing the things that bring your partner pleasure but do not bring you pleasure. So for my partner, there are certain things that he absolutely loves. He is a better person when it's done. I don't enjoy doing them. Is there someone who is a better aligned to do this with you, for you? Absolutely. You should do that with them. And that is from watching football to anal sex.
I love it. It's so practical as well and just so free and why waste your energy and, trying to do something that's really just not for you. Yes, I love it. I love it.
I feel like I'm really lucky to have so many friends who are as intentional as I have tried to be about being sex positive with our parenting. And today I'm just delighted to have a really good friend. She's a single mother of a fantastic 17-year-old.
Yeah.
So I said, who better to ask the two open people about this subject?
Open upples.
The open upples.
Yes. Okay, I am a trained theater and TV performer and currently a soap writer. So I basically work from home and write TV scripts and raise my daughter and take her to school every day. I'm for the rest of the event a taxi driver.
Yes.
Yeah. Chauffeur. Sorry, chauffeur.
Chauffeur, yes. A very beautiful chauffeur.
Thank you,
perhaps,
thank
yes.
you, thank you. Yeah.
I am a professional idiot that posts YouTube videos. That's my life, essentially. I don't do much. I just kind of exist and get angry at the people around me.
Yes.
And how old is this angst? How old are you?
17 years of
17 years of angst. We love it. Okay, ladies, so we're going to get right into it. I'm always interested in how culture affects our belief systems, our approaches to life. So tell our audience, ethnically what you are. We live in South Africa and it's a rainbow nation. It's a melting pot. Mm-hmm. But ethnically, how you identify and how has your background affected your approach to parenting?
Cool. I'm a Cape-colored woman and, culturally we are known for not being bashful about things, about being straightforward, having, calling a spade and stuff like that. But so obviously things like sex it's not as taboo as I would say in other cultures but there is always that element of shame around it, that shamefulness that we don't talk about it. People are fairly open on the subject, making jokes about it, alluding to it, mocking people. But when it comes to actually having the real serious face-to-face conversation, it's not that easy. And I think that's a human thing. I read something interesting. I think it was in Louise Hay where she speaks about how we relate to our bodies and we should really get rid of the shamefulness and start rejoicing in every body part. And then she said something about when it comes to how we relate to our bodies, there's this thing called Mama's God, which is the God that you grew up with, that your mom told, God's going to punish you if you do this. And she just said, we must stop seeing God as this bearded old guy sitting on a cloud monitoring our genitals, And that is like, when you think about it, you realize, there is that little nagging voice in the back of your head that you're not always aware of it. But that's Mama's God talking to you saying, hey, you shouldn't. Oh, that dress is too, that pants are too, that, there's an element of religion that creeps into it. But I think there's definitely an element of using sex to threaten or to, you're going to get in trouble. And I understand that as a mother, of course, I understand that you don't want your kid to get the wrong idea, to get in trouble, to fall pregnant, you want to, yes, that is part of your job, getting your teenager through high school. It's like, if you can make it
high school and not pregnant.
But Rebecca and I, it's not that we talk about sex often. It's just when it does come up, there's an openness. There's I think we are with everything basically.
Yeah.
Nothing is taboo, which means sex is not taboo either. And calling things by their proper names, calling your genitals by their names, not having pookie, wookie, chookie, wookie, lookie.
In our house, we used to call it a hoo-ha.
Everyone but JJ and I go like, yes, you can have little cute names, but not shy away from calling things by their proper names. They have names. There's no shame in it. You don't have to use a euphemism. You don't use a euphemism for your nose. Or for your ear. It's true. My Lobi Joby, It's like you say.
My nostril wasti.
It's my ear. No, there's no shame. So I find, specifically on the topic of speaking to your kids about sex, that there's a lot of unnecessary shame that if a parent just goes, actually, sure, this is tough for me to talk about with you, but let's see where we can get. There's an honesty in that, even in admitting that you don't feel quite so comfortable, oh, give me a day, let me think about it, and I'll come back to you. And then take that day and gather your thoughts. And there are times when I told you, just give me a day. I don't know how I feel about this. Not on sex specifically, but on other topics, you know, where you as a parent can admit you don't know, but you are willing to go and broach the subject, get yourself knowledgeable, see how you feel about it. But it's that thing of immediately when it comes, oh, no, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
No.
I'll tell you when you're older.
And then all that kid's going to do is try and find out what it is.
Yeah. Essentially.
And Rebecca, we're now living in an age where attraction is much wider. We used to think in really binary terms. You know, your mom's in that generation. It's like a man should be with a woman and a woman should be with a man.
And I'm here like, hi.
And have you had that conversation, you know, with your mom as well? So first of all, tell us how you identify. Do you have a term for it?
You mean like in terms of
your sexuality?
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, I do actually. Mine's kind of interesting in my opinion. I am heterosexual, but I'm pan-romantic.
Oh.
So
okay.
That sounds very unromantic.
Actually, it's the exact opposite because I'm romantically attracted to all genders.
There you go.
So that would have been nice if I knew that when I was dating women. Because I'm here like, why am I attracted to you, but I'm also not, am I lying to us?
Am I lying to us?
Am I lying to And then it's just like, oh, you're just not sexually attracted to women. Calm down.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just for the record, I don't even know what that means.
What, pan-romantic?
The whole thing.
It's okay.
I just go,
It's okay.
as long as you know and you're happy.
And as long as you're happy.
I am happy, yes, thank you. And one of the things that I liked is, because I've had a few identities. At first, obviously, I was straight because heteronormativity.
Hey.
Wow. And then I identified as bi, and then pan, and then another thing that I can't remember, and then I was pan again, and then I'm like, oh, wait, I'm none of that. And you kind of just went, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, Mom, I like this girl. Oh, really? Is she nice?
That's the criteria.
Yeah, you're just like, is this person not an a-hole? That's your standard. Do they treat you good? Do they have common sense? And I really appreciate that. You're very, very open about things.
But, you know, have you both had conversations about intimacy and relationships? So I know like your standard as a mom is just don't be an a-hole. What have those conversations looked like?
Not a lot, I would say, because her experience of relationships and the field the way it looks today is not even vaguely recognizable for me. So as she is exploring and learning, and things are changing, and the landscape on that front has been changing rapidly all the time, you know.
Very, very quickly.
I really just can't keep up. So my barometer is Rebecca, whatever she has done in that field, because I barely understand my 1980s field that was very simple.
It was.
I haven't even won that. I haven't even triumphed over that field. So this is like,
And now I'm here like,
level,
you've got asexual.
this is like level
That's
69 and
asexual.
I'm still by level 2, you know, and I'm just going, guys, I don't want to pass level 2, man.
I'm happy here.
I think I'm at
Let me
level
know
2 of
what's
my own
happening there
generation.
by you guys, but I'm still, so it's been a strange thing, but it's been more of an exchange, you know. It's just, she will know exactly what's happening in mine, and I will know fairly, I think definitely more than what other parents know of their 17-year-old, you know. So I understand that there's still a big part that she doesn't share with me, but that's life. It's not anything.
I'm not hiding anything.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just what people do. You show some parts, you don't show other parts, and you are also exploring and learning about yourself. So there are parts that you're going to keep to yourself, but there's no forcing the other to even understand the one's point of view, but just to hold space for it and listen and be willing to ask questions. Okay, now what do you mean when you say, like you said, pansexual? And I will just ask. And
Pan-romantic.
Guys, I'm so that was my second one, pan-romantic.
You're basically a homophobe.
There is such a thing as pansexual, I'm sure.
There is.
Now, boo for out to me, Jelle.
I originally identified as pansexual.
Now, you see that's what I was talking about, Malaika. Don't you come undermine me here behind the microphone. I mean, come on. talking about sex here. Be careful.
Rebecca, is there anything you want to add to that?
I do, yes. I want to say I really appreciate the fact that you are so open and like things that you're just dumb about. You're like, okay, so what is this? And you'll just ask it right there, and then we'll exchange how we experience things and our opinions on things. And you're more, like, I feel really rude almost saying traditional or old-fashioned, but you're more old-fashioned.
Universal.
You're universal.
Universal approach to
Your
things.
universal approach to things. I have that. And because you don't force, you're just like, this is how I feel. You can feel what you feel. I would prefer if you have basic things, like you said, like respect and stuff. That would be nice. But then there are so many people that will be old school like you, but then think that's the only way that it has to be. And then there are people like me who are like, love everybody, and then we get hate for that. You're upset that I have more girlfriends than you. That's your problem. But you
see, that's the landscape.
That's the landscape we're dealing with now.
No, you've helped me have a very balanced perspective on things.
Cool.
I appreciate that. And
That is awesome.
So we are asking each of our guests this season the same question. And that question is, do you have a sexy secret that you can share with our audience?
Sexy secret.
And you can interpret that however you want to.
A sexy secret. I'm a sexy secret. Awesome! I'm sexy and no one knows about me.
I am a sexy secret. Not everyone knows about you, trust me.
Sexy secret. Nah, I'm too boring, Malika.
No, you're not boring. Nobody is boring. Rebecca, what about you?
Sexy secret.
Sexy
Let it rip, baby.
good Lord, what would I have to say?
If I don't even have a sexy secret, I don't know what you have.
I'm 17, dude.
That's fair enough.
I'm still figuring out.
I'm still
what this
figuring it
thing
out. I'm
is.
still figuring out what a pan-romantic is.
Surely there's something. All you need to know is I'm not sexually attracted to women.
There we go.
That's the main defining factor of how I identify.
I know too. Because it's a lot of language. It is not always very clear what the conclusion is.
Yeah.
you know?
Yo, this is confusing.
Okay, so it's not just me.
Oh,
because-
everyone in the
figuring it
community
out.
is confused. None of us know what we're doing.
Okay.
We just know who. No,
As long as you all know you don't know what you're doing.
that's
fine.
literally
Yes, there's
it.
corporate confusion, so it
Corporate
works.
confusion.
corporate. Yes, everybody at the head of LGBTQ is like, what?
Well, ladies, thank you so much. This has been a blast. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to add that you want the world to know that I haven't asked you?
Sometimes kids, the first question they ask about sex is so innocent. And we have such a thing about it that we immediately freeze up and think, oh, what do I, if you just go, oh, that's cool. Why are you asking that? And you keep your cool. You'll see it's not half of the time, not as serious as you thought it was going to be. And then it's something that it's actually really simple that they wanted to know. But we have such a thing about it that we make a big deal before they make a big deal about it. So I say be kind to yourself and just answer what they're asking in simple terms. And if you don't know or feel comfortable, I think you can tell your child, oh, that's all I can tell you now. I'm not so comfortable about the other details. Maybe we can talk about it later. Or, it doesn't have to be something wrong or bad. And, be kind and gentle to yourself too. And then it'll be fine with your kids,
Be happy. And
Don't worry.
And consent is important.
Yes.
Consent is important.
Good Lord.
Consent is not negotiable.
Consent
it's
is not negotiable.
My no is no. And
Yeah.
so is yours.
Yes. Oh,
Even if you enjoy it, your no is no.
there you go. Thank you both so much.
I really loved this episode. I think I got a lot of affirmation, actually. I am doing the right thing with Asantua for where she is right now. And part of what I recognize is that I just need to continue investing and learning, right? I don't think it's easy to be a parent. And sometimes we act like it comes naturally to you. But these are skills that we have to learn.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that the thing that I really loved about this episode is the language. That I'm a parent of teenagers, you're a parent of a toddler, but each of them in those stages is learning language to express themselves. So I really, really appreciated how Rebecca is learning to identify herself and find the language that defines who she is and how that continuously changes. And I think that as parents, we just need to really be open to that and not, mark our kids and, and try to put them in these boxes. And so that's why I also appreciate Ilsa for giving her daughter that space. For me, that was really beautiful to see.
It was inspiring.
Yeah.
It was inspiring for sure. So yeah, folks, I hope you had a good time and see you next week
See you
for
next
another
week.
amazing episode with some fantastic guests.
The Adventures from the Bedrooms of African Women podcast is hosted by Malika Grant and Nana Darkose Chiama. Sally Chan, AQ Studios' CEO, is an executive producer alongside the hosts. Ferdy Boswell is a senior producer. Audio editors are Mercy Barno and Tevin Sudi, alongside production support from Mercy Gudaiga and Lucas Ngao. The Adventures from the Bedrooms of African Women podcast is a production of AQ Studios in partnership with Massy Media. Follow us on all our socials at AQ Studios Podcasts. Our theme music is Damn by Rhea Boss. Find Adventures from the Bedrooms of African Women anywhere you get your podcasts, and in the pursuit of all things sex, sexuality, and pleasure, follow us on all our social media platforms at Adventures From. Thank you for listening.
Damn, she's so fly.